The screen of my laptop glows in the dim light of my home office, a familiar and comforting sight. But tonight, it feels like an open doorway to a past I've spent years bricking over. My name is Ethan Walker, and this is a story I never meant to tell. It's about a man named Robert, and what he wanted to watch. To understand it, you have to understand the before. Before, my life was a sun-drenched photograph. I was married to Chloe, a woman whose laughter sounded like the best kind of music. We lived in a little craftsman-style house in a quiet suburb of Seattle, with a porch swing that creaked a familiar tune. I was a mid-level graphic designer, she was a teacher, and our world was small, perfect, and entirely ours. We were trying for a baby. The hopeful, nervous energy of that endeavor filled our home. We had dreams painted in soft, future colors. Robert was my boss. Robert Vance. To everyone at the agency, he was a visionary, charismatic, demanding, brilliant. He had a way of looking at you that made you feel like you were the most important person in the room, and the only one who could execute his grand designs. I was flattered by his attention. He began inviting me to high-stakes client meetings, praising my work in front of the partners. He'd call me into his sleek, glass-walled office just to bat around ideas, which usually meant him talking and me nodding, sipping expensive scotch I didn't really like. Chloe was wary. "There's something about the way he looks at you, Ethan," she'd say, curling into my side on the couch. "It's like he's not just assessing your work, he's assessing you." I'd laugh it off. "He's assessing my ability to make him richer, honey, that's all." The shift was tectonic, but so slow I didn't feel the ground moving. It started with favors. "Ethan, I need you to handle this presentation for the Anderson account. I've got a conflict." The conflict was a golf game. Then it became, "Ethan, my personal assistant is swamped. Could you drop off this paperwork at my house on your way home?" That was the first time I went to his home. It wasn't a house, it was an estate. Modern, all sharp angles and reflective surfaces, perched on a cliff overlooking the Puget Sound. It felt less like a home and more like a museum dedicated to Robert's success. He answered the door himself, dressed in casual linen that cost more than my suit. "Ethan, come in, don't just stand there." He led me through the cavernous, HOI space to a deck drink he offered, already pouring a glass of bourbon. I declined, citing the drive. He shrugged, sipping his own. "How's Chloe?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the gray, churning water below. "She's great, thanks. You two are trying for a family, I hear." The comment jarred me. I'd mentioned it once, in passing, during one of our late-night idea sessions. "Yeah, we are. Hoping for some good news soon." He turned to look at me then, and his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Family changes everything. It's the ultimate commitment, the ultimate vulnerability." He said vulnerability like it was a fascinating, rare specimen. "You'll see." The work demands escalated. Late nights became the norm. I'd miss dinners with Chloe, and our hopeful, intimate evenings dwindled under the weight of my exhaustion. Robert was always there, a constant, demanding presence. He began texting me at all hours. "Thought of a tweak for the logo. See attached. Client's wife hates the color cerulean. Switch to cobalt now." The messages crept into weekends. Then, one Saturday afternoon while Chloe and I were at the farmer's market, my phone buzzed. It wasn't about work. "Saw you and Chloe buying heirloom tomatoes. The blue shirt suits her. You're a lucky man, Ethan." A cold trickle of dread seeped into my stomach. I looked around, scanning the crowd. I couldn't see him, but the feeling of being watched was a physical weight on my neck. I shoved the phone back in my pocket, forcing a smile when Chloe asked who it was. "Just Robert. Work stuff." The lie tasted bitter. The final fracture happened on a Tuesday. Chloe called me, her voice trembling with a joy so profound it cracked. "Ethan, the test. It's positive." The world exploded into color. I left the office immediately, driving home in a blur of tears and reckless joy. We celebrated, just the two of us, dreaming aloud about names and nurseries. In my elation, I made a mistake. I emailed the team, including Robert, saying a family emergency would keep me out the next day. I didn't specify. His reply was instantaneous. "Everything okay? Hope it's nothing serious. My thoughts are with you and Chloe." The next morning, as we were lazily making pancakes, the doorbell rang. It was a courier with an extravagant gift basket, organic teas, luxurious lotions, a cashmere blanket. The card read, "For the mother-to-be. Warmest congratulations, Robert." Chloe held the card, her face pale. "How does he know, Ethan? You said you didn't tell anyone." "I didn't. I just said a family emergency." "He watched us, Ethan, at the market. And now this. He's in our lives. He's in our news." The fear in her eyes extinguished the previous day's joy. A silence fell between us, thick and cold. That silence became our third resident. We moved through our home like ghosts, afraid to speak, afraid our words would somehow summon him. The joyful planning stopped. We stopped talking about the baby in the house, as if voicing our hope would make it a target. My work became a nightmare. Robert's mentorship curdled into something possessive and sinister. He'd corner me in the break room. Chloe must be glowing. Such a delicate time. She needs you present, Ethan. But the work demands so much, doesn't it? It's a terrible tension. He was weaving a net around me, strand by cruel strand. Then came the night of the company's annual gala. Attendance was mandatory. Chloe, now 4 months along but showing only the slightest curve, didn't want to go. I begged her, if we don't go, it'll seem strange. It'll give him a reason to ask more questions, to pry. Let's just go, smile, and leave early. She agreed, her eyes hollow. The event was a spectacle at a downtown art museum. Robert held court, the king of his domain. He found us almost immediately. The walkers. He boomed, pulling Chloe into a hug that made her stiffen. You look radiant. Motherhood is clearly your calling. His hand lingered on her back. Throughout the night, I felt his gaze like a laser point on us. During a dull speech, I went to get Chloe a glass of water. From across the room, I saw him approach her. He leaned in, saying something. She laughed, a tight, nervous sound, and took a small step back. He closed the distance, his hand gently, paternally, resting on her belly. There bumped for a moment before she recoiled. I felt a white-hot rage burn through me. By the time I got back to her, he was gone, melting into the crowd with a smirk in my direction. The drive home was silent. When we walked through our front door, Chloe finally broke. She slid down the wall onto the floor, sobbing. He asked if he could feel the baby kick. He said he'd always wanted a family. He said he felt so connected to us, to our journey. She looked up at me, her face ravaged by fear. He's not going to stop, Ethan. He wants something from us. I don't know what it is, but he's not going to stop until he gets it. I knew she was right. The following Monday, I marched into Robert's office and quit. I gave no reason, offered no 2 weeks. I just said I was leaving for the sake of my family. He listened, steepling his fingers. The charming mask vanished, replaced by an expression of cold, calculating calm. That's a profound disappointment, Ethan. After all I've invested in you. This familial impulse is quite common, but short-sighted. He stood and walked to the window. You know, in nature, some creatures are very protective of their young, and others are always watching, waiting for a moment of weakness. He turned to face me. Leave if you must, but remember, the world of design is very small, and I have very long arms. For a few weeks, it felt like freedom. I found freelance work. Chloe's color returned. We dared to paint the nursery a soft, buttery yellow. We started calling the baby Sunny, a secret name full of hope. We thought we had escaped. We were wrong. It was a rainy Thursday. Chloe was at a prenatal yoga class. I was in the home office, working on a logo. An email notification popped up. The sender was an encrypted, anonymous address. The subject line was blank. There was no message, only a video attachment, labeled with that day's date. A cold, primitive fear seized me. I didn't want to open it, but I had to. I clicked. The video was grainy, slightly shaky, as if filmed on a long lens. It showed the parking lot of the local grocery store. There was Chloe's car. The timestamp showed 45 minutes ago. The footage followed her as she got out, locked the car, and walked toward the store entrance, her raincoat hood up. The camera zoomed in, holding on her as she pushed the cart, picked out fruit, her face serene, unaware. It followed her back to the car. It watched her drive away. My blood turned to ice. I sat there, paralyzed. Then another email arrived. Same sender. Another video. This one was from 2 days prior. It showed our house, our porch swing moving in the breeze, our living room window, a golden rectangle in the dark, with our shadows moving inside. A third email. This one had text. Security is an illusion, Ethan. You have something so precious. It must be fascinating to watch it grow. I've always wanted to watch. The scream that tore out of me was silent, trapped in the prison of my ribs. He wasn't in my workplace anymore. He was in our life. He was in the very air we breathed. He wanted to watch, and he was. What followed was a descent into a special kind of hell. We went to the police. They were polite, concerned. They took a report, but the emails were untraceable. The videos showed no illegal activity, just surveillance in public spaces. It's stalking, absolutely, the officer said, his face sympathetic but weary, but without a direct threat or him violating a restraining order, which we can't serve because we can't definitively prove it's him. Our hands are tied. Change your routines. Get cameras. Document everything. We got cameras. We changed our routines. We lived in a state of perpetual, vibrating terror. Every car that drove too slowly past our house was him. Every wrong number call was him. The world became a canvas for his potential presence. Chloe stopped leaving the house unless absolutely necessary. The joyful anticipation of motherhood was poisoned. We were just waiting. The emails kept coming. Not every day, but often enough to ensure we never slept soundly. Videos of me filling the car with gas, of Chloe's mother visiting, a close-up shot of the yellow paint can we'd left in the recycling bin. He was a ghost, a digital phantom, reminding us that our most private moments were his entertainment. Then, the worst happened. It was 2 weeks before Chloe's due date. She was asleep, exhausted. I was prowling the house, checking locks for the third time, when my laptop chimed. A new email, a video titled, "The Final Countdown." It showed the interior of a car at night, the windshield wipers slapping away rain. The car was parked across the street from our house. The camera panned to the passenger seat, where a pair of high-powered binoculars lay. Then the video cut to a different shot, taken during the day, a clear, zoomed-in view through our nursery window. The crib, the mobile, the stuffed elephant we'd bought. The camera slowly panned down, to the base of the window, and focused. There, barely visible, was the tiny, wireless camera he had planted. It was inside our house, inside our baby's room. He was no longer just watching from the outside. He was inside. Something in me broke, not into pieces, but into something hard, sharp, and deadly calm. Fear evaporated, replaced by a crystalline clarity. The police couldn't help us. The system couldn't protect us. Robert Vance wanted to watch my family. He wanted to consume our joy, our fear, our most intimate moments as his own personal spectacle. He saw us as characters in a story he was directing. I decided to write him a different ending. I didn't tell Chloe about the camera in the nursery. The knowledge would have shattered her completely. Instead, I held her, told her I loved her, and said I had a new plan. I called in a favor from an old college friend, Mark, who was now in private security. While I spoke to him, I carefully, using tweezers and a handkerchief, removed the tiny camera from the nursery windowsill. I placed it in a sealed bag. Mark arrived the next day. He swept the house and found 2 more, one in the living room smoke detector, one pointing at our front door from a shrub. He also brought equipment. "It's time to turn the tables, Ethan," he said grimly. Our plan was simple, brutal, and the biggest risk of our lives. We had to lure Robert into the open. We had to make him believe his narrative was still in control. And we had to capture him, not on his hidden cameras, but on us, in a way that would end it forever. I sent an email, from my personal account, to the anonymous address. "You win. I can't take it anymore. Chloe is a wreck. The baby is coming. I'll give you what you want. I'll let you watch, but you have to come in person. I need to see you. I need to know it's really you. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. The house will be empty. Chloe is at her mother's. I'll leave the back door open. You can watch whatever you want. Then you leave us alone, forever." It was a desperate gambit. We were betting everything on his obsession, his narcissism, his belief that he was the puppet master. We were betting he'd want to see the defeat in my eyes up close. Chloe, with Mark's wife, went to a safe house, a hotel room paid for in cash, miles away. Mark and I prepared. We installed our own cameras, tiny, hidden, streaming to a secure cloud server. We wired the nursery for sound. We placed a high-definition camera inside the stuffed elephant in the crib, its glass eye looking out, and we waited. The night was moonless and thick with a fine, misting rain, just like in his video. At 8:55 p.m., I turned off the living room lights, leaving only a small lamp on in the nursery. As per my instructions, I stood in the dark living room, my heart hammering against my sternum. At 9:05, I saw a shadow detach itself from the deeper darkness of our backyard. A figure, dressed in black, moved silently toward the back patio door. The handle turned. The door swung open. Robert Vance stepped into my home. He stood for a moment, letting his eyes adjust. He looked calm, even pleased. He didn't call out. He simply began to walk, a connoisseur touring his latest acquisition. He ran a finger along the back of our couch. He picked up a photo of me and Chloe, studied it, and set it down. He was savoring it. Then, drawn like a moth to the faint light, he moved toward the nursery. I watched him on the feed from the living room camera. He paused in the doorway, his silhouette framed against the soft yellow light. He let out a long, slow breath. Then he walked in. He went straight to the crib, his back to the elephant. He reached down and gently touched the little blanket. The intimacy of the gesture made my stomach roil. Then he spoke, his voice a low, satisfied murmur meant for himself, captured in perfect clarity by the microphones. Perfect, so perfect. All that fear, it makes everything so much more vibrant, doesn't it? Now the final act. A new life enters the stage, and I have the best seat in the house. That was it. The confession, the evidence. I stepped out of the closet where I'd been hiding, holding my phone, the recording app visibly running. The best seat in the house, Robert, I said, my voice steady. He whirled around. For the first time, I saw genuine shock on his face. It was quickly replaced by a twisted smile. Ethan, I thought you'd be gone. You wanted me to see, didn't you? You wanted an audience for your pathetic little life. No, I said, taking a step forward. I wanted an audience for this. I raised my phone. Every word you just said is being streamed to a server my friend Mark is monitoring. He's already called the police. They heard you admit to stalking, to breaking and entering, to planning to invade the birth of my child. They are listening right now. They are on their way. The arrogance drained from his face, leaving behind a pale, furious mask. He lunged at me, not for the phone, but for me, his hands clawing. I was ready. I sidestepped, and Mark, who had been waiting in the hallway, burst in. The struggle was short, ugly, and ended with Robert pinned to the floor of the nursery, his face pressed against the soft rug we'd bought for Sonny. The police arrived within minutes. The evidence was overwhelming. His live, recorded confession, the videos we provided, the hidden cameras we'd found. He was taken away in handcuffs, his head bowed, the spectacle finally over. He was the one being watched. The legal process was long, but the evidence was incontrovertible. He eventually pleaded guilty to multiple felony counts of stalking, burglary, and invasion of privacy. He is now serving a sentence that will keep him away from us for a very, very long time. Chloe and I sold the Craftsman house. The memories in its walls were too stained. We moved across the country, to a small town in Maine where the air is clean and the neighbors are kindly but mind their own business. Our daughter, who we named Lily, was born healthy and loud, her cry the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, a sound of life, not fear. I never meant to tell this story. For years, I wanted to bury it, to let the past stay past. But I'm telling it now for a few reasons. First, if you are being watched, if you feel that creeping, silent dread, trust your instincts. The system is not perfect, but document everything. Create your own record. Second, predators like Robert often operate in the gray areas, relying on your fear, your shame, your desire to just make it stop. They count on your silence. And finally, I'm telling it for Lily. One day, she might ask why we moved, why we're so careful. She deserves to know that the world can hold shadows, but that shadows can be fought. That her father's love for her mother and for her was a fire that burned brighter than any fear a sick man could manufacture. He wanted to watch, and in the end, because he wanted to watch, the whole world got to see him for what he truly was. We have our lives back. The porch swing on our new house creaks a different, sweeter tune. And the only eyes watching Lily grow are our own, filled with a love that is no longer haunted,